All right, that's the second song, and that always gets me every time, even though I've heard this a million times. That little last drum beat, the end of Machine Speak. So next up, we're gonna get to obviously the rest of the EP, and we were just talking briefly on the break about our few of our discussions last time, and we were talking about like a bit of the industrial scene, at least what I've picked up out of your music, and it was just incredible. So, do you want to kind of tell them a little bit what we were talking about?
Yeah, just talking about basically you mentioned about the industrial element of my music, and well, we were chatting the last time we talked about the Nine Inch Nails, just and that type of influence and stuff, which is an influence on a lot of my stuff. I mean, it can't, if you're doing anything to do with guitars and an electronic side of music, you can't not be influenced by Nine Inch Nails. I mean, the man practically invented half the hardware, that people use to make that type of music, So we just chatting about that, and I love because the people use in electronic music, a lot of guys making electronic music in the scene here in Northern Ireland, they will use a lot of like hand claps, and they'll use sort of more softer drum sounds.
So is it more like dubstep sort of thing?
Well, yeah, I suppose, but they just sort of use. It's not necessarily, there are bits and pieces of dubstep, but it's all sort of. I just like the really hard hitting electronic drums. I like the the impact, the clatter of it. I just like that sound, and I suppose I'm drawn to that, so it makes its way into my music, like which is maybe where the industrial element comes from.
And honestly, I think that's where I picked it up from, because I mean, it's just one of those things. You're right; it's very hard hitting, and it makes it different. And some of the stuff they can play live, some of the stuff they can't. And just jumping back to the nails here, just for one moment, and then we'll get back to this right away. Is their one song, "The Perfect Drug"? The drums of that is pretty much all electronic, because they were asked one time to play it, and they said, well, we could try, but our drummer's arms would probably fall off because it's just way too fast.
Yeah, well, I mean, I suppose that's all part of pushing the boundaries, so too, isn't it? Just like, if it wasn't for them doing that, music might not have progressed the way it did, and the one thing about Nine Inch Nails is they were always pushing stuff forward, you know what I mean, and eventually people had to follow. Which is the best way to be. There is no other way to be. I mean, rest on your laurels or what other people have done is just, it's not a way to go. I don't think, in my opinion.
No, I totally agree with that. Just before we get the next song we're going to play is called "The Sun," excuse me, "The Sun Seen in a Thick Mist Looks Like." And that's quite an interesting title. Now, just before we get into it, what is the background behind the song? Just because the title is just very interesting, and it's not because it's long, it just something kind of stands out.
I mean, I always when I do the song live, I always make the joke that the reason that it has such a long title is because there's no lyrics. But it was just an idea that came to me. I was just looking out. I was driving the car and I looked out, and
Let's hold on one sec here. We're just having just a little bit of a connection problem here, so guys, stand by here just for 1 minute. And what we're going to do is we're going to play it right now, and we're going to get back to talking to Grim in just one moment. So this is called "The Sun Seems Thick in the Mist Looks Like." Dig this. All right, that was the sun seen in a thick mist. Looks like, and we're back with Grim. So we had a little bit of interconnection problem. So we'll go back to where we left off. You're talking about driving your car and looking out the window, and then we'll take it from there. Can you hear me still?
Yeah, I looked out the window and through the mist. Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. Keep going.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So I was looking out and through the mist and the clouds, the sun didn't. It looked like the moon, and it was just that sentence that the sun seen in like mist looks like the moon was. I just thought it was a nice sentence, but the song, the track itself is just sort of that. When you go out for a walk at night on your own,
right?
Just walking about at night on your own. That's sort of what the track is supposed to be.
Now, just a quick little thing here. As far as I know, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but Ireland is known as Land of the Midnight Sun. Have you heard that before?
I've never heard that before.
Oh, really?
I've never heard that before, but it's a fantastic phrase.
And it's one thing I've heard a few times, and mainly one time specific years ago. It's a quick little short story. An apartment I shared with a couple of buddies. His mother went on a trip, and she called each destination she got to because she's pretty much was going around Europe with her husband, and she called one night, and his name was Richard, but she says this was funny because she says, "Hello, Rick. This is Mummy. I'm calling from Ireland, Land of the Midnight Sun." And man, we just died laughing. We listened to that about 3 times because it was so funny. But that stuck in my head, and I've heard it a few times after that. So that's one reason I brought it up, because it was just a perfect little short story there, but funny at the same time.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'd never heard that before, but that's a really cool phrase. But I wish I could say that there was a connection there. But maybe it's incidental that when I seen this and out walking at night, and that what the song's supposed to be about, that it just all links in, and just maybe that's the impression that Ireland does give, even to me, having lived here my whole life.
Right, and that's a good way to look at it, because I mean, just because these phrases are made doesn't necessarily mean, like, because if you live in the area, it's one of those things you don't necessarily think about it, right? Because you're used to it, so it's nothing new to you. So you're just like, well, wait, what?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but when it makes sense, I suppose. So that's it's something I've learned. Actually, I'm kind of glad I've heard that, because I probably will use that, and at least in conversation in the future.
Well, then, man, that'd be great, because, like I said, that's when I first heard the song. That's one of the first things that popped in my mind. Is like, I wonder if this has any connection to it. So, either way, it's still a very cool song. And next up, we're gonna hear it in a few minutes here, and this is my favorite song on the album, on the EP. And to all my listeners out there, you guys have heard this many times, because you know it's one of my favorites. The song is called "Quick Nobody Smile." So, if you want to give us like a quick rundown on how the song came about, like what you were thinking when you wrote the song.
Yeah, this is the angry breakup song, or that anger period after the breakup. Just the best way I can think of explaining this, and it's just that there's one lyric in the song that sort of sums it up for me, and it's in the second verse, and the lyric is, "Let me write this down. It's an address. Go there for a while and wait for death." And it's kind of, if you'll excuse the pun, it's kind of grim as a lyric, but it was sort of me saying, because it kind of is like that sometimes after a breakup. It's like, just go away, and I don't want to see you again, and it doesn't matter now what happens to you, because I don't need to know.
Well, it's absolutely right.
Not necessarily the way it is, but it's the way it feels,
No, oh, absolutely. I mean, every single one of us out there has experienced some sort of bad breakup at one time or another, so it's completely understandable, and that's what makes this song so good, because again, it works into the flow, right? Because it's like you're taking a little break and going back in and saying, you know what, I know this breakup sucked, but now, like, I'm super pissed and mad, and I really don't care what goes on anymore. And that's perfect, because just the way that you've titled the song with the exclamation point after quick is like, and pops right in your head right away. Is like, you know what, this is gonna be a badass tune, just the way it's titled, because anything with exclamation point usually means like it's like it's meant to be hard hitting, and like it's meant to like really stand out.
Yeah. Well, actually, the title itself was a reference to this thing I got. I started getting annoyed about people trying. What annoyed me most were the people that tried to smile and cheer me up and say that everything was okay and act like everything was okay. Because I was I'm in pain. Stop acting like everything's okay. If you're going to come here and try to cheer me up by making it seem like everything's okay, I don't want that. I just go away and leave me alone. That's annoying me more. And that's the point of the title. It's sort of like don't you don't do that. Like if you're gonna just leave me, I'd rather just be left alone, sort of thing.
And what, and so do most people. And it's interesting that you put it up and brought it up that way, just because you're absolutely right. It's like, someone coming out and saying, "Oh, come on, man, it's not so bad. You want to come out for a beer?" It's almost like they're antagonizing you.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So it's like, in that instance, like, all right, just F off, and like let me be by myself for a little bit.
Yeah, that's exactly the way it is too. It's just like you can't trivialize people's problems, because when they're in the middle of those problems, that's all they see. What I mean? So it doesn't matter what your point of view is or how they're going to be when they come out the other side. At that moment, it's not trivial.
Absolutely correct on that one, man. I can completely understand that one, and like I said, all of us have been through that one at one point or another.